The C-clasp, or circumferential clasp, is probably the most common clasp used. It can wrap around a tooth from the distal and the mesial, often used to grab around second molars, as is shown here. By doing so, you are able to keep the clasp out of the occlusion. It wraps completely around to engage the mesial undercut. It's used on teeth that are not fully erupted. It's used on teeth where there may not be an excellent undercut mesially or distally because of the lack of eruption. It's used frequently in primary dentition because of the lack of a buccal undercut. Here you can see a C-clasp being used with a primary molar, and a composite button is being used to create an undercut. It's often the clasp of choice because of its ease of adjustment. As with the Adams clasp, there's still 3 points of adjustment. 1, where the wire exits the acrylic. 2, where the clasp starts its downward bend toward the gingival. And 3, at the free end of the clasp, where it engages the distal, in this case, the distal buccal undercut. Where the clasp exits the acrylic, right here, simply adjust by pressing downward. So grasping it between your thumb and forefinger, grab the wires with your other hand and press downward. An alternative method is to use the 139 bird beak pliers to hold the appliance steady. Think of the pliers as a portable vise to hold the wire while most of your adjustment is done with your fingers. Just hold and roll your wrist and press down with your thumb. The second area of adjustment is where the clasp starts its downward curve toward the gingiva. Using the pliers as a vise, finger on the appliance as a rest, bend it down and inward toward the tooth. The third adjustment is where the free end of the clasp engages either the mesial or distal buccal undercut of the tooth, inward towards the mesial buccal undercut. In this case, use the 139 bird beak pliers to rotate downward and inward. Now here's what not to do. While most adjustments could be done with the 139, there are occasions where a 3-pronged might be used, but extreme care must be taken so as not to nick the wire. Once the wire is nicked, the strength is severely reduced, leading to a possible fracture.